This is Isaiah chapter 10 and verse 33. It says, "Behold, the Lord, Yahweh Tazabawath, shall lop the bow with terror, and the high ones of stature shall be hewn down, and the haughty shall be humbled." Shalom Akim, Shabbat Shalom. This is your brother Zakaria Allah, branched out here in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, coming with another lesson through the Spirit. Lord willing, this be edifying to the Lord's elect. All right, and before I get started with this lesson, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Wakar Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, of whom I've grown in this truth under. Shalom to the Akim out there that's pushing the truth, that's laboring in the word, and that's pushing the gospel of the great kingdom that's soon to come. Shalom to the Akwath that's listening in, that's remaining true to the faith, and remaining faithful and submissive to their husbands and guiding their children. And shalom to the hopeful elect of the 12 tribes that scattered abroad throughout the four corners of the earth, to you Israelite foreigners out there who live among the heathen and who look like those heathen nations. But your lineage goes back to the progenitors of the 12 tribes of the nation of Israel through the line of your fathers. All right, I want to say peace and blessings to you all. Barakatham. And it's so much that's going on right now, so much that's happening so fast. All right, so much that you can't even you just can't keep up. You know what I'm saying? You can't keep up with all the things that's happening. All right. But we're seeing the fall of this kingdom, man. All right. The fall of this kingdom is begun. And we're going to watch a heavy spiral. Like if you see the drain, you know what I'm saying? You see the water going down the drain. All right. And you can see that tornado spiraling down. All right. It only gets faster and faster the closer that you get down into it. You know what I'm saying? And we're entering into that funnel. Right? And by the end of this video, you're gonna understand just how close we are to it. All right. I was watching just a little while ago. I was watching Elder Malcolm, who was doing a video, and he showcased a few videos that I'm going to one of which I'm going to use to illustrate the point that this empire is finished. It's finished. You know what I'm saying? We are so close to salvation. You can't look back. You can't look back, man. All right, you just can't look back. We too close. You see what I'm saying? Let me get this in Romans. This is Romans chapter 13 and verse 11. It says, "And that knowing the time, that now it is high time to awake out of sleep, for now is our salvation nearer than when we believed." This thing is faster than we thought. All right, it's approaching, you know what I'm saying, at supersonic speeds, man. So the first video here that I'm going to be showcasing is a video from the Canadian Prepper. All right. It says, "WTF, the system crashed. Silver absolutely explodes, and Europe is going to war. We are in these times. Jacob's trouble is commenced, and we're about to see. All right, we're about to see this thing go full force. So let's get this started. All right. I'm gonna try not to make this video too long, but the Spirit's gonna do what it does.
This is your World War III update. Silver, $61 an ounce. $61. Oh, you were in a coma for the last year. Well, let me explain what's going on. Okay, so silver is $61 an ounce. $61 an ounce. Up 120% in a year.
I want you to take that in. I want you to take that in, man. All right. And this man is laughing, you know what I'm saying? Because it's surreal. You know what I'm saying? It's surreal when you think about how fast this thing is moving. 120% in 1 year that silver has risen. All right. And the price of gold and silver, all right, and other precious metals, you know what I'm saying? They pretty much tell a story in the financial world. Okay. The price of these of these precious metals, you know what I'm saying, these commodities, they tell a story, okay, of just how the economy is moving, okay, how much is thriving and how much is in turmoil. Okay? And right now, the world can clearly see that this thing's in turmoil, man. It's about to go crazy. Continue.
Listen. You got to ask yourself. Okay, I know. Oh, this crazy guy, he's stark raving mad. All right? Well, guess what? We as preppers are resigned to the fact that this is a thankless job, really, at the end of the day, with the exception of you fine people. In the age of AI slop and imitation, this sort of wisdom that we're trying to convey here is something which is not appreciated and missed by the mindless, automated, soon-to-be automated masses. I get that. It's a Sisyphean task, as they say.
And what do you think he means by that when he said soon-to-be automated mass? He's talking about the new world that we're coming into. All right, that these devils are trying to push and they want established. And for this world that they're bringing in to be established, in order for that to happen, all right, people are going to become sentient. They're going to become cyborgs, if you will. All right. And at the same time, the majority of the population has to go. All right. Let's continue.
With no end. What's the point in doing it day after day after day when you know ain't nothing fundamentally gonna change? Maybe you're gonna save a few people, that's about it. But you have to ask yourself, why are they not talking about the price of silver being 120% higher than it was a year ago in the mainstream media? Why is it that they're not talking about the price of gold up 60% in a year? Where is the news about that? Could it be because the system is crashing right before our eyes? And could this be part of the reason why you have a bunch of rich social media influencers making money by telling all the poor people who they should hate? And isn't it interesting that all of this just so happened to culminate right around the $4,000 gold mark? Remember when I've been telling you that gold is a barometer for social chaos, right? And every 500 increment or so, something new gets thrown into this crucible of collapse. Well, isn't it funny how people like Nick Fuentes suddenly find their way onto every mainstream podcast? Notorious or not, isn't it interesting how at a time of financial peril for everybody, they suddenly have everybody at each other's necks? Isn't that interesting in the age where billions of people are about to be rendered effectively expendable and obsolete as far as their human resources are concerned? Isn't that interesting?
And that's the point. All right. And that's the point. We have what's known as controlled opposition. When you look at people like Nick Fuentes, when you look at people like Charlie, like Captain Kirk, all right. When you look at people like Candace Owens, all right. These are wealthy influencers, rich influencers who are paid to keep the masses against each other. You see what I'm saying? When they speak about things like woke, when they speak about things like alt-right, okay, all these sorts of things have the left against the right and the right against the left. You see what I'm saying? They have nobody looking up. You see what I'm saying? Nobody looks at the ones who are pulling that are pulling the strings. You know what I'm saying? And you know, when the people are focused on the smoke and mirrors, when the people are focused on the you know, what's the word? The buzzwords, you know what I'm saying? When they're focused on those types of things and the division, the endless division, they can't focus on what's truly happening right before their eyes. Okay? Because they're too clouded. And the scriptures tell you, all right, that we are not ignorant of Satan's devices, man. All right, so let's get this. This is Second Corinthians chapter 2 and verse 11. It says, lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. Okay? If you're constantly in this loop of the left or the right, you know what I'm saying? You're constantly looking at, well, let's wait till the next election. And then if you're still in that type of time, man, you haven't changed. All right, from following the same, dog and whistle. All right, so let's listen a little more.
Guys, everything I said, I regret to inform you, will be vindicated in time. And we better embrace the fact that we lived in the golden era of all of this. Because in the next few months, all of this is going to change. I don't even know if I'll be around in a few months, the way things are going. And I don't just mean like I won't be making videos. I hopefully will, if all goes well. I just mean the way that AI and the algorithms are starting to churn out information and replicate and just saturate the space with a bunch of complete and utter slop. And the way that the majority of people are perfectly content eating this sludge content is quite demoralizing, to say the least.
All right. Just to give a translation, you know what I'm saying? Truth is going to be ill spoken of, and nobody's going to be able to speak the truth. And all of this is an attempt to get to the prophets. All right, all of this is an attempt to get to the prophets. I was listening to the elder Mawatazak, all right, this morning, and he was going into the fact that these Amalekites are about to make it so to where those who are opposed to them, you know what I'm saying, and what they're doing, they're going to be treating that opposition here in the States the same way that they're treating, all right, those in the Holy Land right now. Okay? So it's only a matter of time, like I said earlier this morning, you know what I'm saying, that the prophets aren't going to be here very long. Okay? Not for much longer. Our job is almost up, you know, and the preaching phase of this thing is going to be over. And then it's just going to be judgment. And a lot of people are going to receive that judgment, and it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be pretty. So I want to get this video that Elder Malcolm had showcased. All right. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to start first by showing you his video. So hopefully you can, watch and subscribe, you know what I'm saying? Because it's very important that you get this information, you know what I'm saying? So bear with me. All right. So this is the Elder Malcolm's video. His YouTube channel here is GMS Maccabean Spirit 144. All right. Subscribe and be edified. The name of the video is "It's Over Sooner Than We Think." EU, Canada, the UK, and Australia have put sanctions on Nero. All right, and the United States. And this is going to be a heavy, heavy impact very soon, man. All right. So much is going to be affected by this move. So much. So with that, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, you can go to this video. All right. Watch and be edified. Subscribe. Now let me get to the video that he showcased. Bear with me. All right, so this is the video that I'm going to be getting into. All right. This is from William Debate. All right, from William Debate. And the name of the lesson, or the name of the video, is Global Leaders Stun Trump with Sanctions He Didn't See Coming. All right. And this is indeed confirmed. And it shows you that everything that the prophets, beginning with our apostles, bishops, and elders on down, have been talking about, and everything that's coming out of the scriptures ultimately, all right, stands the test of time. Okay? This book is living, and all these scriptures are popping right out the pages, man. So let's get into this video.
So, the European Union, the United Kingdom, Canada, and Australia just announced coordinated sanctions against the United States for the first time in history. You heard that right? America's closest allies, the nations that have stood with us through 2 world wars, through the Cold War, through every global crisis for nearly a century, have imposed economic penalties on the country they once considered their indispensable partner. And the target is unmistakably clear: Donald Trump and his inner circle. The sanctions freeze assets, ban travel, and restrict financial transactions for Trump, 17 members of his administration, and over 40 American companies connected to his business empire. The announcement came simultaneously from Brussels, London, Ottawa, and Canberra at precisely 6 a.m. Eastern Time. A coordinated strike designed to maximize impact before American markets opened. But guess what? This isn't about trade disputes or tariff disagreements. According to the joint statement released by all 4 governments, these sanctions are being imposed in response to documented corruption, constitutional violations, and the systematic undermining of democratic institutions that threatens the stability of the Western Alliance. It's honestly hard to believe.
This is saying that all of the things that Trump has been doing, all right, as of late, with his involvement with these tiny tops over there in the Middle East, so-called, all right, all of his dealings that's been going on behind the under the table, behind the, behind the curtains. These are national, national breaches of trust. Okay, and all of these countries are turning against America, just as the prophets have told you. Let's go to Revelation. All right, because I remember when I was telling someone before, a couple years back, and I said, hey man, America is going to lose all of her allies, man. America's not going to have any allies very soon. And I was called crazy. They were saying, man, you tripping, man. You tripping, bro. America's always got allies. America's going to always be loved. America's going to always be respected. No. The prophets have spoken the words of the Heavenly Father through his beloved Son, Yahushua, in the spirit of prophecy. We have the true testimony of Yahushua. You know what I'm saying? We have that more sure word of prophecy. This is Revelation chapter 17 and verse 12. It says, and the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings. All right, 10 kings which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings. 1 hour with the beast. These have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. Jumping down to verse 16. Okay, because this was that alliance, NATO and the EU, the European Union. Verse 16, and the 10 horns, which is NATO and the EU, and the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore. These shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire.
We've reached this point. This isn't just about strict relations and the systematic undermining of democratic institutions that threatens the stability of the Western alliance. It's honestly hard to believe we've reached this point. This isn't just about strained diplomatic relationships or policy disagreements. We're talking about America's oldest allies treating the American president like they would treat a dictator from a hostile nation. And trust me, the implications for American power, prestige, and global standing are absolutely devastating. Let me fill you in on what's been happening. The relationship between Trump and traditional American allies has been deteriorating since his first term. He questioned NATO commitments, insulted allied leaders, imposed tariffs on Canadian and European goods, and repeatedly suggested that America's security guarantees couldn't be trusted. From the get-go, allied governments were concerned that Trump viewed partnerships built over decades as transactional arrangements to be renegotiated or abandoned.
Speaking of abandoning, if you can remember the Nord Stream pipeline, the Nord Stream pipeline, when it was taken down during the during the Biden administration, okay, and everybody knew that the Biden administration had taken it down. That caused a major rift with how these nations, these allied nations, saw America. You see what I'm saying? That America was willing to undermine the security of their own allies in order to circulate a narrative that ultimately benefited them and nobody else. You see what I'm saying? America showed what they think about their own allies, man. And then what happened when Trump came back into office? He said with his whole chest out that I took out the Nord Stream pipeline. All right? So he claimed responsibility for it. even though he wasn't in office when that happened. All right, but he claimed that he, meaning America, did this. All right. So what that did was further deteriorate these relationships between the West. And we're seeing a house being divided right before our eyes, man.
But here's where the rubber meets the road. According to Politico's December 5th report, Allied intelligence services have been sharing information for months about what they describe as the complete breakdown of constitutional governance in the United States. The leaked financial documents showing foreign payments to Trump reportedly confirmed suspicions that Allied intelligence agencies had developed through their own sources. One European intelligence official told reporters that they had been watching money flow to Trump from adversarial governments for years, but couldn't prove the full scope until the Desert Files leak.
He said adversarial governments. These are governments, all right, these are governments that America is supposed to be against. You see? Taking money, taking bribes from countries that's supposed to be your enemy. You see what I'm saying? Now, if somebody on the lower level, let's say in the intelligence community, was to do something on that scale, to take money from an enemy country, all right, bribes and things of that nature, okay, in exchange for particular favors, that would be seen as espionage. You know what I'm saying? It would be seen as espionage. But this is happening in the highest branch of government. You see what I'm saying? So let's get this here in Obadiah. This is Obadiah chapter 1. It's only one chapter. Obadiah 1:1. It says, the vision of Obadiah. Thus saith the Lord power concerning Edom. We have heard a rumor from the Lord, and an ambassador is sent among the heathen. Arise ye, and let us rise up against her in battle. Behold, I have made thee small among the heathen. Thou art greatly despised. America is greatly despised. These small hats are greatly despised. These Edomites as a whole are becoming greatly despised. It says, the pride of thine heart hath deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? Okay, this is the hardy nature of these Edomites, man, and how they have always thought concerning their rulership. Verse 4, though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, and though thou set thy nest among the stars, thence will I bring thee down, saith the Lord Yahweh. If thieves came to thee, if robbers by night, how art thou cut off? Would they not have stolen till they had enough? If the grape gatherers came to thee, would they not leave some grapes? How art the things of Esau searched out? How are his hidden things sought up? You see what I'm saying? These intelligence agencies had to figure out all these different financial transactions, and this isn't just one agency. All four of these countries, the EU, all four of these governments, the EU, the UK, Australia, and Canada, they all did their own independent searches, all right, their own independent intelligence gathering. And they all came back to the table with the same conclusion. You see? How are the things of Esau searched out? How are his hidden things sought up? And it begins first with the prophets. The prophets have spoken that these things was going to happen. And they're happening now. Verse 7. Now this is the result. All right, this is the result, the direct response to all of what we just read. Okay? The fact that they've been despised among the heathen. The fact that they've been prideful. The fact that they set their nest amongst the stars. The fact that they have been thieves, stealing and gathering and taking bribes and taking what's not theirs. And the fact that all of these things that were done in secret are now coming to the light, it all results in this verse right here. Verse 7. All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee, your allies, have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in him. See?
This mess is unfolding because allied governments concluded that working with Trump's administration had become impossible, and that treating the United States as a normal partner was enabling corruption that threatened their own security. The coordinated sanctions represent a collective judgment that diplomatic engagement has failed and that stronger measures are necessary. And before we go any further, let's be real for a second. Allies sanctioning the United States is genuinely unprecedented. For 250 years, America has been the nation that imposes sanctions, not the nation that receives them. The psychological and strategic shock of this reversal cannot be overstated. Now, back to the matter at hand. Here's where it gets interesting. Reports from December 5th revealed just how extensive the preparation for this action was. According to CNN, Allied governments began secretly coordinating in late summer after it became clear that Trump's second term would not moderate his approach. Weekly video conferences between senior officials from all four governments developed the sanctions framework, identified targets, and planned the simultaneous announcement. The sanctions themselves are comprehensive. They freeze all assets held in allied nations by the designated individuals and entities. They ban all travel to the European Union, UK, Canada, and Australia. They prohibit any financial institutions under allied jurisdiction from processing transactions for sanctioned parties. And they warned that secondary sanctions may be applied to any entity that helps sanctioned parties evade these restrictions. According to the joint statement, the legal basis for these sanctions includes documented evidence of corruption through foreign payments, obstruction of justice in federal proceedings, and actions that constitute a fundamental threat to democratic governance in a manner that endangers the security of allied nations.
They had this information sitting in the back burner for a long time. They've been compiling the evidence. They've been sitting back and waiting for their chance to do this. So they have all the information, they have all the proof, they have all the records and the documentation. You see? They have everything that they need. The scriptures say that the accuser of thy brethren is cast down. The accuser of the brethren, you know what I'm saying, is cast down, man. And this can't go on much longer. All right? This can't go on much longer, man. You know what I'm saying? They're about to pull the plug. Right? This is Jeremiah chapter 50 and verse 31. It reads, Behold, I am against thee, O thou most proud, saith the Lord Yahweh. Yahweh Tazabawath. For thy day is come, the time that I will visit thee. And your time is up, Edom. Your time is up.
Essentially, America's allies have concluded that Trump represents a threat to their security and have responded with the tools they typically reserve for hostile regimes. This wasn't a hasty reaction. This was months of deliberate planning, culminating in coordinated action. This announcement sent shockwaves through global financial markets because it raised immediate questions about American economic stability and the dollar's role as the world's reserve currency.
And this is why we're seeing gold rising up 60%. This is why we're seeing silver rising up 120%. This is why. So the cat's out the bag. And remember what I told you a couple months back. I told you that when this happens, all right, when these people start getting found out, what inevitably results is scorched earth. All right, scorched earth. And we're about to see scorched earth, man. You see what I'm saying? These jokers are about to they're about to say fuck it. All right? No more need to pretend. No more need to pretend like we care about freedom, liberty. Right? Slaki. All right, Khan. So like I said, there's no more need to pretend to be for freedom and liberty and pursuit of happiness, you know what I'm saying, fairness for all. There's no more need to pretend anymore. It's time to take the mask off. All right? It's time to take off the mask and show what you're really about. And this is exactly what's happening. All right? This is Isaiah chapter 32. Isaiah 32 and verse 5. It says, the vile person shall be no more called liberal. All right? And that word for liberal, okay, the definition is pretty much going into noble. So the vile person is no longer going to be called noble. This is what's happening to America right now. They're not being considered nobles anymore. All right, people who are righteous. America is being seen for what is true, for what it truly is and what it's always been. Right? But the vile person shall be no more called liberal, nor the churl said to be bountiful. For the vile person will speak villainy, and his heart will work iniquity, to practice hypocrisy, and to utter error against the Lord, to make empty the soul of the hungry, and he will cause the drink of the thirsty to fail. You see what I'm saying? So now this devil's about to show his horns, man. The scriptures say that he came with two horns like a lamb, but spake as a dragon. So he's about to start speaking like a dragon now. All right.
The S&P 500 futures dropped over 4% within an hour of the announcement. Gold prices spiked. Treasury yields gyrated wildly as traders tried to assess what Allied sanctions against America would mean. Now, this isn't the first time we've seen international concern about Trump's conduct translate into concrete action. The pattern of Allied frustration has been building throughout his return to power. Just think about how European leaders responded to Trump's suggestions that NATO commitments might not be honored. At a Munich Security Conference, European Commission, President Ursula von der Leyen warned that Europe needed to prepare for an America that might not be a reliable partner. Defense spending across Europe increased dramatically as governments hedged against American abandonment. Then there was the G7 summit fiasco earlier this year. Trump refused to sign the joint communique, insulted the Canadian Prime Minister publicly, and reportedly told other leaders that America didn't need allies who weren't paying their fair share. According to a European diplomat who spoke to The Guardian, the summit ended with other leaders genuinely questioning whether the Western alliance could survive. And let's not forget how allied governments reacted to the leaked financial documents showing payments from foreign adversaries. Within hours of that leak, multiple allied foreign ministers issued statements expressing grave concern and calling for transparency. When Trump responded by attacking the journalists and calling the documents fake, allied governments noted that no evidence was offered to contradict the documented payments. Even the intelligence sharing relationship, the crown jewel of the Western alliance, has reportedly been compromised. According to MSNBC's reporting, allied intelligence services have restricted what they share with American counterparts out of concern that information might reach Trump and through him, the foreign governments making payments to him. Now, it looks like allied patience has finally been exhausted. The sanctions represent a judgment that engagement with Trump has become counterproductive. So what specifically triggered this coordinated action at this particular moment? Well, it all boils down to the accumulation of evidence reaching a tipping point combined with an incident that made delay impossible. The impasse happened because allied governments had been quietly urging American institutions to address the crisis internally. They preferred that Congress, the courts, or voters solve the Trump problem without international intervention. But Congress remained paralyzed. Courts moved slowly, and the accumulating evidence of corruption went unaddressed.
And at the core of all this instability lies the tiny tops, the small hats, the people who call themselves JOOs. They sit at the core of all of this instability, and everyone can see it. Everyone can see it. You see what I'm saying? And so the world watched as the U.S. was in a whole power struggle for months, and the government had shut down for well over a month. The world watched as, members of Congress just started resigning left and right, including Marjorie Taylor Greene, stating that, this whole thing is a loyalty towards a foreign nation that no one's allowed to question. You see what I'm saying? And all of these allies have watched and see this and have seen this unfolding. You see what I'm saying? So let's see how much I got. How much time I got? All right. So let's see. Let's listen to a little bit more. All right. And then I want to show one more piece of evidence. Bear with me.
Now, here's the kicker. According to sources who spoke with CBS News, the final trigger was intelligence suggesting that Trump had shared classified information provided by allied services with Russian officials. One source described an intercepted communication in which a Russian intelligence officer discussed information that could only have come from allied sources shared with the United States. Whether Trump shared this information deliberately or inadvertently, allied governments concluded their intelligence assets were at risk as long as they continued treating America as a trusted partner. While American officials have denied any intelligence compromise, allied governments apparently found the evidence compelling enough to act.
That's heavy, man. That's really heavy. You know what I'm saying? And this is going to play a part. It's going to play a part in the prophecy to where, that shows that all these other nations, all these nations that was once in America's side, they're all going to turn to the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, Gog, which is Russia. All these nations are going to turn to Russia. You see what I'm saying? They got their oil cheap from Russia. They got resources cheaper from Russia. You know what I'm saying? They don't want to fight Russia. They really don't want to do that. Ultimately, these nations are going to side with Russia. All right? Because Russia is more trustworthy than America. You see what I'm saying? The Lord is mustering the host of the battle, man. And all these allies are going to hate the whore. These 10 horns.
According to a British official, quoted by The Guardian, they were faced with a choice between protecting their intelligence sources and maintaining a fiction of normal relations with Washington. This was the moment the Western alliance fractured in ways not seen since before World War II. The fundamental assumption of American foreign policy, that democratic allies will always stand together, has been shattered by allies who concluded that America's current leadership was too corrupt to trust. And then came Trump's response, which managed to make an already catastrophic situation worse. He took to Truth Social within minutes of the announcement, calling Allied leaders globalist traitors and threatening to withdraw all American troops from Europe and cancel all defense agreements immediately.
Like a child. Like a petulant child who can't take accountability. You see what I'm saying? That's how your boy Nero acts when he's under pressure, when he's being caught in a lie. He acts like a child. He gets on social media like a child. You see what I'm saying? He denies evidence like a child.
He called the sanctions an act of war and suggested that America might need to reconsider who its real friends are. But then, when financial markets continued to plummet and Republican senators began expressing concern, Trump's threat of immediate military withdrawal was walked back by administration officials. The mixed messages created additional uncertainty about American policy and further damaged confidence in American leadership. Now, this left the American government in an impossible position. On one side, responding aggressively to Allied sanctions could escalate the crisis into a complete rupture of the Western alliance. Withdrawing troops, canceling agreements, and imposing counter-sanctions on allies would leave America isolated and would delight adversaries like Russia and China. On the flip side, accepting the sanctions without response would be seen domestically as humiliating weakness. Trump's base would demand retaliation. The tricky part is that every response option makes things worse. So the administration is caught in a bind. They can either escalate by withdrawing from NATO and imposing counter-sanctions, which means destroying alliances built over generations and handing strategic victories to Putin and Xi. That would reshape the global order in ways that damage American interests for decades. Or they can seek to negotiate a de-escalation, which means acknowledging that Allied concerns have some legitimacy and potentially cooperating with investigations. But that contradicts everything Trump has said about the witch hunt against him. It's a tough situation.
That's called a checkmate. Okay? That's called a checkmate. Remember, this is the book of Job. All right, this is Job chapter 12 and verse 16. It says, with him, the Heavenly Father, Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai, with him is strength and wisdom. The deceived and the deceiver are his. You see what I'm saying? It's the Lord that's doing all this. Checkmate after checkmate after checkmate. So now Trump is in a bind where he's like, well, if I go down the route of standing 10 toes down and saying, you ain't catching me on shit. All right, that's going to fracture the alliance. Okay. But if he gives in, then that means there's going to be an investigation and he's going to get caught in a lie. And his reputation is ruined. You see? So that's a checkmate, man. By the Lord. The scriptures say, all right, that man's goings are of the Lord. Now let's get this in Proverbs chapter 21. Proverbs 21:1, it says, the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord Yahweh. And as the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will. All right. So you can continue to watch the rest of this. All right. This has been an excellent video from William Debate. Okay. That's the video. Now let me show you one more thing before I close it out. All right. Bear with me. All right. So this is the last piece of evidence, one of which, again, that the beloved Elder Malcolm had showcased. And the name of this video is, all right, Europe caught secretly planning to kill the U.S. dollar. All right, this is from Alaska. This is from Alaska Prepper. As you can see, the channel right there, the Alaska Prepper, and that's the name of the video. Now, as it says right here, Europe, U.S. debt sell-off. European governments are quietly debating an extraordinary economic countermeasure as fears grow that U.S. President Donald Trump may strike a deal with Russia that sidelines Ukraine and threatens continental security. According to internal assessments shared within Europe, officials are dumping vast holdings of U.S. government debt to destabilize the American economy if Washington abandons its commitments to Ukraine. You see what I'm saying? All right. If America doesn't have any funding, if it doesn't have any money, then it can't make any bold moves. You see, you pretty much cut it at the knees. Okay? And this is why we see Pete Hegseth talking about send your sons and your daughters to be in our military. This is why you see all this movement towards Venezuela, all right, in an attempt to get the oil, because they know that the dollar is going to be dead soon. You see? So let me give one more precept. All right, this is Isaiah chapter 33. Isaiah 33:1 says, woe to thee that spoilest, and thou wast not spoiled, and dealest treacherously, and they dealt not treacherously with thee. When thou shalt cease to spoil, thou shalt be spoiled, and when thou shalt make an end to deal treacherously, they shall deal treacherously with thee. Call hello, Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai, Bahashim Kudash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who rule well and who teach well. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect. This has been your brother Zakaria Allah. All right, branched out here in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. And I pray this lesson has been edifying to you all. Shalom.